So the last couple of months have seen us experience what for many of us in our lifetimes will single-handedly be the most traumatic event that we will have had to endure. The world was put into lockdown. A mysterious virus emerging from a lab in China has decimated world economies, destroyed the lives of countless others, killed people. And it's been unprecedented, the reactions of the world. There's a book called Atlas Shrugged that I read many, many years ago, and the central character is a man by the name of John Galt, who vows to stop the world. And I never did think that I would experience the world stopping in my lifetime. But the world has effectively been stopped. And now lockdown measures are easing all over the world, and we seem to be emerging from this pandemic. And I myself have found that although I've been very, very busy during this pandemic, talking to people, recording videos, writing, whether it's in small groups or whether it's in one-on-one sessions, what I found is that even I myself have gone through my own process and through my own, in a sense, transition, which is making me come out more and more. I had some conversations today with some venues, and I'm looking to restart live meetings. And what was very interesting is I enjoy the live meetings. I personally feel myself that as good as online meetings are, as good as YouTube videos are, and writing on social media, nothing will ever really beat the experience of a live meeting. And so I've had some conversations. I'm looking to resume meetings around possibly mid-October. And after my last conversation, I just sat there and just felt a complete draining of my energy and just felt really nervous, which was interesting considering I know my subject matter inside out. I would like to think I'm quite confident at public speaking, and yet I felt nervous. I'd written an article as well, which is going into this month's newsletter, about transitioning and managing the process of change. And I wanted to kind of, in a sense, carry that theme on in this video, but really center it around this whole emerging from this pandemic, because lockdown around the world is easing. The rate at which we are easing, depending on who you talk to, is either too slow or too fast. And it's bringing up a whole variety of emotions and thoughts and feelings, because we are now supposedly moving into, a depression. The economies of the world have just been completely totaled, and more people are losing their jobs. And this is bringing up even more, feelings and thoughts and emotions, and just this sense of being almost kind of lost in all this information and disinformation. And I myself have at times felt like I really don't know what's going on. And after a while, the constant stream of negative news is such that all you want to do is just switch off. Depending on who you're listening to, there is one theme that seems to be, constant in all the different sources of information, is just the amount of negativity that's just coming out about this, and this, and this. So as we now move through lockdown now into this, coming out of this pandemic, what can we do to really manage these emotions? Because as I said in previous videos, and I believe it was my last one, I don't feel we've really seen the effects of this pandemic yet, because I feel there will be a purging of emotions for people who've been bottling them up. For example, the key workers who've had to work through all of this. Sooner or later, there will be almost, in a sense, a collective adrenaline dump as we realize that the fight and flight responses that we've been using to get ourselves through this, that stiff upper lip, that just, hey ho, we will make it through attitude, needs to be released. And how can it be released in a safe place? In a safe way. And what can we do to manage our emotions? And I think the first thing is we need to be very patient with the process that we're going to go through of finally being allowed to just take that deep breath and sigh and allow whatever comes out to come out. there is sometimes in the spiritual community and also in the self-help community, this whole wanting everything right here and right now. And sometimes that can be detrimental when you're dealing with emotions. And I feel taking our time and coming out slowly but surely with these emotions will be possibly a lot safer than trying to just leave all this behind and just return to normal, or whatever this new normal will look like, or whatever society will be like. I feel a certain period of transition will be needed as we adjust to the changes around us. Like I said, I was talking to some venues today, and post COVID-19, what I'm finding, although I know we're not completely out of the woods, what I'm finding is even my work is being affected with the setup of the rooms, the safety measures that I've got to have in place, and even travel, because a lot of my work is in Europe, and I don't know how that will be affected over the couple of next couple of months. We also have a situation now where people are now starting to hunker down in their houses, and the convenience of online shopping is such that we now really don't need to leave our homes, which is creating a much more insular society. And I feel for us to come together and collectively deal with this will probably be a bit more beneficial, but let's see. I think one of the things we've also got to do as well in our rush to get back, because yes, for many of us, we haven't worked for months. For many of us, we've been on some furlough scheme. In this rush to get back and feel normal, we may try to force a process that is happening naturally, that occurs within us, that allows us to function even in the most extreme situations. I've always talked about this natural state, and this natural state knows what is best for us, because if these thoughts and feelings and emotions and these questions are all arising within you, then invariably the answers are right here as well. And I feel it's even more important now to trust who you actually are. We have been fed a constant narrative and have been told what to do for the last couple of months, to the point where a sense of helplessness has really arisen in a lot of people. And it's whether we can now reclaim our power back, because even when we gave our power, we handed our power over to authorities who knew better, we were still in charge of actually handing the power over. And I feel it's time for us to take our power back and feel more empowered, but again, taking our time with it. It's kind of even interesting as I'm recording this video, the way even my thoughts are quite scattered. I mean, normally there tends to be so much more of a flow. And I feel that's something a lot of us are actually feeling, and it's okay to sometimes feel slightly scattered in your thoughts or not really know where anything's going, because invariably, if we trust, what we find is that the process works itself out to a natural conclusion. And I think this jaggedness that we're seeing in society, of one day we're being told this and the next day we're being told that, will resolve if we don't try to force it, and we just trust whatever is going on right here within us. I think then, it's just really to allow whatever is going on within us to naturally conclude itself. I found that I was very busy at the beginning of the lockdown, and then there was a period of quiet, but I found that I'm going through my own process, in the sense that I can sense energetically that my work is changing, the way I'm talking is changing. And in the past, I have made the mistake of trying to force that process, because we do all love to be busy, and we all love to be in the thick of the battle. And sometimes those peace times where we can just sit and stare are so against our conditioned responses that we find ourselves quite uncomfortable with just stopping. But what I found is, having gone through a number of transitions over the last couple of years since I started speaking, that I found that there is a real wisdom in the process. And what you'll find is, it's actually a beautiful place to be, in the sense that when we start trusting trusting this moment, the process in itself is efficient, and the process is constantly helping us deepen our realization of what we are. And we find that when we are shown the beauty and the wisdom of this transitioning, that we learn to trust them more. So, for example, as a real life example is I went very quiet at the end of a talk about 2-3 years ago. And I remember there was nothing actually coming out. There was no content or anything. And I obviously panicked and became busy for the sake of being busy, like putting out videos, putting out this. And they were received in the manner that they were put out. What I then found is when the quiet period ended, I invariably started getting busy a lot naturally. And I remember then feeling really tired because the period when I'd gone quiet was really life telling me to stop, slow down, and rest. So now I was almost kind of in a sense running on empty. So now when I don't feel like doing something, I don't, because invariably there is a wisdom behind it by trusting this moment, by functioning in this now. And what I find is that, I don't work as much as I used to work. I'm so much more trusting. And that doesn't mean I've reached the pinnacle of my trust, because we can go deeper and deeper and deeper into trusting. But I found that life is efficient in the truest sense of the word. And because of its efficiency, it knows us so much better than what we know ourselves. I always say that life's wisdom is unparalleled. It's the ultimate teacher. And I feel that the world is collectively now starting to come out, and this is life bringing us collectively out. And we can either rely on our conditioned responses and the way we've always done things, or we can have really inquired and thought about what's happened over the last couple of months and become more trusting of what is. Because what is, what really is happening right now is absolutely efficient. Whether the emotion or the thought or the feeling is agitated, it's confused, or whatever it is, it's so much more efficient and so much more loving and so much more helpful and kind than when we try to step in the way of life and dictate the process. That creates that separation, which reinforces that seeking, which really is just the home of agitation and suffering. So we can lessen this suffering by trusting what is, and trusting that, yes, we may not know everything, and we're not quite sure where our lives are going, but by trusting something greater than ourselves, which is life, which is invariably not separate from us as well, that we may find a wisdom within us which isn't separate from what we seek. And if it's not separate from what we seek, then we no longer need to seek it, and we can just rest as actually is. So I've been talking a lot over the last couple of months about this whole idea of inquiry and really looking at ourselves. We've been given, although as traumatic as this has been, we've been given a wonderful opportunity to really look into our lives and to really inquire into the nature of existence and to see whether, even how we're living, whether it is right or not. And I don't feel that period of inquiry is over. If anything, we should be examining the reasons why we're seeking. We should be engaged in inquiry until the idea of us, an idea of me, an idea of I disappears, and we can see that it is just one, because we are still being presented opportunities in which emotions are rising. And rather than turning away from those emotions, we should be actively diving into them to learn what they're trying to tell us. And instead of resisting them and making and creating resistance and fear and agitation, allow whatever happens to happen. And what we'll find is we will transition out of this kinder, nicer, wiser people. So that's pretty much what I want to say really about that topic, really. I hope you're finding, obviously, these videos helpful. If you have any feedback and everything, because I've been getting some lovely feedback recently, or if there's topics that you would have discussed in further details, and drop me a mail. There has been quite a bit of work on the website recently. There are more articles and videos being uploaded. So, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to receive, obviously, a notification every time a new video is released. And also really keep in touch, because we have due to this pandemic, become very, very insular. And I have been saying in the last couple of videos about this whole idea of going out into our communities and actually looking to allow this separation to go, because I feel we have more in common. We have more in common, again, that unites us than divides us. And I feel this is that time to really focus on what brings us together as opposed to what pulls us apart.